Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit here, back again with a reaction to a brand new show that I'm going to be doing. I've always intended to react to this when it came out, and now that it is out, I am going to be reacting to it. It is House of the Dragon, of course, set in the Game of Thrones Song of Ice and Fire universe. I have done a reaction to the last season of Game of Thrones. I didn't do a reaction for the previous seasons because I'd already watched them before I started like the whole reacting thing, so unfortunately there was nothing I could do about that, but I did do like a whole big roundup about the previous seasons and who my favourite characters were and what my favourite moments and everything like that. It's on the channel if you do want to go look at that before you get into this, but if not, well, you know, I don't know, enjoy just House of the Dragon as its own kind of thing, because while it is obviously tied and it's in the same universe and everything, and it's, you know, featuring, you know, the same families, at least, well, Targaryens being the forefront of that for this this show. It's going to be interesting. So I'm hoping that because it's a different, you know, different writers and everything like that, that we're going to get some better writing than we did at the end of Game of Thrones. Now, you know, I was incredibly emotional in the last season of Game of Thrones when I was reacting to it. Of course, it being like the first time you're reacting to something, you know what I mean? You've been with these characters for like practically a decade, you know what I mean? So, you know, when you're watching characters be killed off and everything like that, it is emotional. Of course, I mean, you realise, like in hindsight and after the fact, that it was just really badly finished off. Obviously, the main reasons for that is because they had gone past the books at that point, so that like all of the detail and the characters and all of that, like all their dialogue was terrible. It wasn't really anything with substance. So yeah, I mean, we'll just forget about that and we'll go straight into House of the Dragon, see what we get with this. But yeah, I'm excited to get into it and see what we get. I don't think there's anything we really need to talk about going into this. Yeah, I don't think so. I know that it's set previously, put it that way. That's pretty much all I know. I haven't like read the books or anything like that. I know that this one is about like the Fire and Blood book, which is interesting because that means that the entire show or this series should be you know, taking all the detail and plot points and everything from that book that is actually finished, which means that we're not going to get to a point where the writers are struggling like what to come up with and detail and outline things that need to be happening. Everything is there written in black and white, so yeah, there shouldn't be any problems on that front, hopefully. And yeah, I don't know what kind of sort of budget this show has. Like, I mean, it's HBO, and you know, it's coming off of, you know, Game of Thrones, which was like the biggest TV show like of all time in terms of its budget and everything. That has been outdone by Lord of the Rings of Power, which I will also be doing a reaction to, so keep an eye out for that as well. But yeah, I don't know in regards to how well this show will do, considering of how Game of Thrones ended. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of people might just give the show a miss based on how Game of Thrones ended, rather than, you know, looking at it with sort of like a fresh pair of eyes, if you will. I'm just hoping that you know, that we can kind of go back to that standard of what Game of Thrones was like, you know, for like the first like 4 seasons, you know, like that kind of shit. So we'll see what happens, but I am excited to get into this and see what we get. New characters, everything like that, and dragons, a lot more dragons. So it's going to be interesting to see, you know, who's dragons, who's and what's what, and get into some new characters. So yeah, there's nothing else to really talk about. So I am going to obviously be reacting to all of this in full length and everything like that. So if you do want to watch my full length reaction to this, then a link to that is in the description below. You can watch all the episodes and everything I react to in full. And yeah, and also there is a link to my reaction to episode 2 immediately right now, so if you do want to go watch that immediately after this one, then the option's there for you as well. So yeah, nothing else to really talk about, so we're going to get into House of the Dragon season 1 episode 1 and see what we get. So without further ado, let's go.
As the first century of the Targaryen dynasty came to a close, the health of the old king, Heirs, was failing. The old king called a great council to choose an heir. Princess Rhaenys Targaryen, the king's eldest descendant, and her younger cousin, Prince Viserys Targaryen.
Prince Viserys Targaryen, she may.
Viserys. I
Rhaenys,
recognise that actor as
a
well.
woman, would not inherit the Iron Throne. Heirs called the Great Council to prevent a war being fought. The only thing that could tear down the House of the Dragon
Was itself.
was itself.
Yeah. Of course. Ah, nice. Nice. So we know. 172 years, okay. Alright, straight into it with the dragons. Waste no time here. Here we are, right, King's Landing. Oh shit! I wonder if this is the... Is this like the, Dragon Pits, I think it's called.
You will lie in this bed soon enough, Rhaenyra. This discomfort is how we serve the realm.
I'd rather serve as a knight and ride to battle in glory.
Rhaenyra, you're late. King's cupbearer must not be late. Leaves people wanting for
I
cups.
was visiting mother.
On Dragonbank?
I would urge that you not allow this triarchy much latitude in the stepstones, Your Grace. If those shipping lanes should fall, it will beggar our ports.
The Crown has heard your report, Lord Corlys, and takes it under advisement.
Cost of the tournament is not negligible. Perhaps we might delay until the child is in.
There's a boy in the Queen's belly. I know it.
Is he sitting on the throne? Oh dear. Whoa, what the fuck? That's different.
I brought you something.
It's Valyrian steel,
Ooh.
like Dark Sister.
I believe Dark Sister is a Valyrian steel sword, right?
Is it healing?
It has grown slightly, Your Grace.
It's a small cut from sitting the throne. It's nothing.
I mean, it is very
Whatever
prickly.
it is, it needs to be kept quiet.
Might I suggest cauterization?
Cauterization would be a wise course of treatment, Your Grace. It will be painful.
Fine. But it should be fine, because he's a Targaryen, right? Fire can't hurt a dragon.
Our son was born wearing Aegon's iron crown. I placed our son upon the Iron Throne. As the bells of the Grand Sept tolled, and all the dragons roared as one.
Commander on the floor!
Damn.
When I took command of the watch, you were stray mongrels. Now, you're a pack of hounds, sated and honed for the hunt. Beginning tonight, King's Landing will learn to fear the color gold.
Come on. Nice. Jesus. Oh no! Ah! Oh God! Jesus Christ! Christ alive! Whew!
The Prince cannot be allowed to act with this kind of unchecked impunity. The City Watch is not a sword to be wielded at your whim. They're an extension of the Crown.
Rebels from every corner of the realm are right now descending upon King's Landing for my brother's tourney. Do you want them mugged, raped, murdered? But much of King's Landing is seen by the small folk as lawless and terrifying.
The criminal element should fear the City Watch.
Thank you for your support, Lord Corlys.
If only the Prince would show the same devotion to his lady wife as he does his work, Your Grace. The Veil.
In the Vale, men are said to fuck sheep instead of women. I can assure you, the sheep are prettier.
You made a vow before the Seven to honor your wife in marriage.
I'd gladly give Lady Rhea to you, Lord Hightower, if you're in want of a woman to warm your bed. Your own lady wife passed recently.
Jesus Christ!
Did she?
You are Daemon Targaryen, rider of Caraxes, widow of Dark Sister. The king cannot replace you.
He has Dark Sister. Okay.
When I look at the fine knights in these lists, I see a group without equal in our histories. Queen Emma has begun her labors.
Yeah. Ooh. Damn. Cousin. Is there a relation with Targaryen and Baratheon?
You could have Baratheon's tongue for that.
This is like really well done. Like really well filmed. Very extravagant. I like it. That must be a high tower. Oh, you prick. Oh, that is bullshit. Oh, that is bullshit. You can't do that, surely.
The infant is in breach, Your Grace. All attempts to turn the babe have failed.
Oh god, here we go. Here we go.
Do something for
She's gonna,
her. Given her as much milk of the
she's gonna die in childbirth.
Risking the child.
Of course.
Your queen is a strong woman.
Oh fucking hell! What the hell's going on here? Jesus! Did it? Oh! Fucking hell!
To sacrifice one,
of the other,
or to lose them both. There is a chance that we can save the child.
Oh, to lose them. So she's fucked then.
You can save the child.
We must either act now or leave it with the gods.
Oh! Alright, that's one for Damon.
Yes. They're going to bring the babe out now.
Oh god. Oh god, 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 oh god. This isn't gonna be good, is it? This isn't gonna be nice. Oh man.
I love you.
Oh god. Oh god, god, god.
No, I'm scared now.
Oh, this is horrific.
Don't be scared, they're going to bring the babe out. Please hold it still.
Oh, it's horrific. Bloody hell. Oh shit! Oh bloody hell. Alright. Oh shit, he has a... Oh man, he has a flail. Oh. Wow. Good against the shield. This is Sparta! Oh, fucking hell!
Yield. Yield.
That was really well, like, shot. Like, going back and forth between them, and... Because this is the thing, if that's a boy, then... Damon isn't heir anymore. It's a Chris...
I was hoping to ask for the princess's favour.
Dornish, is he?
Wish you luck, Sir Kristen.
Princess?
Won the tournament.
You have a son.
It is a boy. Oh.
It's a boy. A new heir, Your Grace.
Damon's not gonna like this.
Bale.
Balon. That doesn't sound good. The little laddie. Oh, the kid died as well. Oh, fucking Christ.
They're waiting for you.
Dracarys!
I've just noticed the dragon has a saddle as well.
Where's Rhaenyra?
Your Grace, this is the last thing any of us wish to discuss at this dark hour. That of your succession. These recent tragedies have left you without an obvious heir.
Daemon Targaryen.
If Daemon were to remain the uncontested heir, it could destabilize the realm.
City Watch is fiercely loyal to him. An army 2,000 strong.
An army you gave him, Otto. Putting Daemon in command of the City Watch was your solution.
A half measure, Your Grace.
He's listening in on it.
Daemon has ambition, yes, but not for the throne. He lacks the patience for it.
Who else would have a claim?
Rhaenyra would.
The king's firstborn child.
Rhaenyra. No queen has ever sat the Iron Throne.
That is only by tradition and precedence, Lord
If order and stability so concerns this council, then perhaps we shouldn't break 100 years of it by naming a girl heir.
There are others. who would have a claim?
Such as your wife, Lord Corlys, but the queen who never was.
Rhaenys was the only child of Jaehaerys' eldest son. She had a strong claim at the Great Council.
If we cannot agree on an heir, then how can we expect
My
a
wife
realm?
and son are dead!
Yeah, I mean, he's literally just lost them, and this, like, immediately they're going to this.
I thought you might go to him. Offer him comfort.
Oh God, really?
You might wear one of your mother's dresses.
Oh, he's playing the game, he's playing the game.
I thought I might come and look in on you, Your Grace.
That's quite a model.
The King's sole heir once again.
Last night, Prince Daemon bought out one of the pleasure houses.
King and Council have long ruled my position as next in line for the throne.
The gods give just as the gods take away.
He toasted Prince Balon
To the king's son.
the heir for a day.
Oh, that's fucking not good, is it?
You will address me as your grace, or I will have my Kingsguard cut out your tongue. The heir for a day. Did you say it?
We must all mourn in our own way, your grace.
Instead of being by my side, or Rhaenyra's,
You chose to celebrate your own rise! I have only ever defended you! Yet everything I've given you, you've thrown back in my face!
You've only ever tried to send me away to the Vale, to the City Watch, anywhere but by your side. Blood of the dragon runs thick.
then why do you cut me so deep?
I've only ever spoken the truth. I see Otto Hightower for what he is. He doesn't protect you. I would.
From what?
Yourself. You're weak, Viserys. And that Council of Leeches knows it. They all prey on you for their own ends.
Bloody hell. I mean, he might be right there, but like...
You are to return to Runestone and your lady wife at once.
It's all gonna kick off. Jesus, man. Oh, just cut himself on the throne again. Hey! Balerion.
Balerion was the last living creature to have seen old Valyria before the Doom. When you look at the dragons, what do you see?
I suppose I see us. Without them, we're just like everyone else.
The idea that we control the dragons is an illusion. They are a power man should never have trifled with. Targaryen must understand this to be king. Or queen.
He's gonna put Rhaenyra as
I'm
the...
sorry, Daemon was not made to wear the crown. But I believe that you were.
I, Corlys Velaryon, promise to be faithful to King Viserys and his named heir, the Princess Rhaenyra.
Without deceit.
Oh, is this Daemon's dragon?
By the old gods and the new.
Fuck, what's he gonna do? Is he better not be planning anything, man. He's quite big as well, isn't he? He might be like Drogon size.
They tell us that Aegon looked across the Blackwater from Dragonstone, saw a rich land ripe for the capture. Aegon foresaw the end of the world of men. It is to begin with a terrible winter.
Oh shit!
Gusting out of the distant north.
I, Rickon Stark.
Oh fuck!
Aegon saw absolute darkness riding on those winds.
I love
And
that
whatever dwells
transition.
within- And if the world of men is to survive, a Targaryen must be seated on the Iron Throne. A king or queen. Aegon called his dream the Song of Ice and Fire.
That's nice.
This
Oh
secret,
shit!
It's been passed from king to heir since Aegon's time. Now you must promise to carry it.
That was cat's paw. Whew, I got shivers on that one.
Lord of the Seven Kingdoms.
Dude, he's...
Protector of the realm.
That's a long neck, dude.
Name. Rhaenyra Targaryen, heir to the Iron Throne.
That it? Ooh, fuck. That was good. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, House of the Dragon, episode 1. I'm quite excited. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was really well presented. I thought the setup for it being an episode 1, you know, they did a really good job with it, introducing all of the characters and whatnot. And in terms of the actors and actresses, I thought they did an amazing job with all the performances. There's some characters that already I just feel like I know I'm going to really enjoy. So, You know, I mean, to get those kind of out the way, I think Damon is really well. Like, I didn't know what to expect from Matt Smith, really. I think he's kind of like one of them actors that, because I don't know if he was in anything like before Doctor Who, but that was like the first time I'd like ever seen him on screen in anything, and ever since then, I don't know, like there's something about the way that, like, I don't know, like it's not great, but like it's just like the way that he looks. I never expect him to, you know, to pull off like a performance, and I thought he did amazingly well. Like little nuances in the things that he does, I thought I really enjoyed his sort of, what's the term, kind of prickly nature. Like he's definitely like one of those, he's very dickish. You know what I mean? I just find it really funny, and the fact that like he has this thing with Otto Hightower, who is another character I think I'm gonna really enjoy. That like he loves to sort of tease him and harass him, and you know we saw that like throughout the episode. Like obviously that sparring battle that they had was like, God, that was rough. Like they were just going back and forward at each other, like dig after dig. And Damon came out with the whole thing about, you know what I mean, you can essentially have my wife if you wanna, because yeah, you lost yours, didn't you? Like, oh dude, God, that was a heavy sparring match between them, but I really enjoyed it. And I think that kind of sort of, you know, like two sides of the coin. That's like because they both had a seat at the council, and both are totally against like one another. Like Otto thinks that he should not be at the table at all because of his sort of violent tendencies and whatnot. And there's a few like on the council that sort of have that opinion as well. I feel like the only one who doesn't is Lord Corlys, I believe. He's the black guy with the dreads. And he seems to be the sensible one, to be honest. So I'm interested to see, as a character, like what he brings going forward, because he's got like an interesting sort of, I don't know, like there's an interesting space he fills in terms of the characters that, because I think that it was said at the end there that his name was Corlys Valerian, so he's from Valeria as well as the Targaryens, but his is like, I don't know, like, because the Targaryens are the ones that can ride the dragons and everything like that. I don't think the Valerians can, as far as I know, but the Valerians are like kind of like the side seat to them, I believe. And because he like inherited, like he sits in that spot, he's got like an interesting sort of, I don't know, I just feel like he's in an interesting space, that like, because he was the one that was sticking up for Daemon most of the time, I believe, right? Like even with like the violent tendencies and stuff, like he still, I don't think he had any real bad word to say about Daemon. So it's interesting like to see if, because Daemon has now been sent away, if Lord Corlys is going to more side with, you know, with Daemon, especially now because Viserys, who we've met, of course, like everyone else, is now the king, and he has said that his heir is now Rhaenyra. Whereas Corlys had, you know, previously his wife, Rhaenys, the queen that never was, which was a quote that came out from one of the Baratheons, which is interesting. We're going all over the place here, but she wasn't even considered as an heir at all to the throne again. So obviously, you know, if we go back to the very start of the episode, we had King Jaehaerys. He was known as a very peaceful king, and I think they said something like that was the time of like where everything like prospered, and it was great. And I like the fact that like it started off as like he knew like he had to have this be like sort of like a, you know, it had to be counselled, and it had to be, you know, sort of like voted upon, like who would be the next in line, because he knows that, you know, the thing that will destroy the Targaryens are themselves. And so Viserys was the one who inherited the throne, and they said that there was 10 dragons as well during Jaehaerys's reign, which I believe they would all be still alive. You know, because as far as I'm aware, dragons live longer than humans. So, yeah. So it's, I would imagine we will get to see them all, and it's going to be interesting to see like who is tied to who. So, Rhaenyra, for example, has Syrax, and she obviously comes in on a dragon. I love the fact that the dragon pit is actually like in its pomp, so it's actually all there in its glory, and not like in Game of Thrones where we saw that it was completely like in ruins. There was no need for it anymore. So yeah, it's cool to see that. And you know, she comes back, talks to her mother, Aemma, I believe her name is, and yeah, she like Rhaenyra quotes that like she would rather be a knight rather than have to take up the, you know, her duty is to give babies to the king for like, you know, for heirs and whatnot, to keep their line going. And she said that, you know, she'd rather be a knight. So in a similar sort of vein, that's kind of like what Arya was like in Game of Thrones. So there's like similarities there, and you know, with the fact that, you know, she is now the heir and, you know, possibly going to end up on the Iron Throne. It's going to be interesting to see where that goes. So yeah, in terms of more of the council, we had Lord Beesbury, who I believe is probably Master of Coin, because I think Corlys is Master of Ships. He was the one talking about how the free cities, I think there's 3 of them, right? And all of them are sort of like banded together under one to like form like, you know, I guess a power that's worth looking at. And that the like, I don't know, she's talking about like the stepstones. So I've looked up what the stepstones are, and they're kind of like these sort of like islands off the east of Westeros, right? And they talked about a guy there called the Crab Feeder. I didn't write down his name. But the thing is with like Corlys is that he seems to be the, you know, I talked about him being the sensible one. Like he seems to be the one that he doesn't want wine, and he's talking about how, you know, how there's this possible, you know, like this threat over here, and why don't we go and take care of it and whatnot. And it's interesting, like Viserys doesn't seem very proactive in the way that he operates. It's almost like the, I don't know, maybe like the kingship is passing him by a bit. You know what I mean? Like the like choices that he makes, like, you know, it just seems like he just leaves everything up to his council, and then he decides, you know, what I mean, I get that's the point of a council, but he's not very. Like Viserys doesn't give off a very headstrong feel to me. You know what I mean? So you know, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see like how far, you know, Viserys, like, you know, how far his reign actually goes. But I do like him. I just think that, you know, that he might make like interesting choices. I just don't think, you know, like the throne was kind of made for him. You know. So yeah. I think Lord Beesbury, I think, probably is the Master of Coin. The Maester, obviously every house and whatnot has a Maester. I didn't get his name though. And then obviously, Lord Strong as well. So what would he be the Master of then? I'm trying to think like who's like what Master of Ships, Master of Coin, Maester, the Hand. What's the other one? What would he be? I'm trying to think like what shit. Which one am I missing out? What was Varys in Game of Thrones? Shit. I can't remember. Oh, whatever. I'm sure people will let me know. And you've got Hightower, who is the Hand. And interestingly, there at the end, when Viserys basically tells Daemon to get out, like during that sort of confrontation, Viserys actually just points out like Otto is more of a honorable guy than you are. You know, like that was a great confrontation there between them two. So they are setting up a tournament. Viserys wants an heir. He believes that this one is going to be a male, so it's something that he's been looking for a while now. Interestingly, Aemma, I believe is her name. She said she's had 5 pregnancies in 10 years, but Rhaenyra is the only child they have. So that means 4 of them pregnancies have been, well, I guess if just counting, well, yeah, I mean, now that obviously we know that this pregnancy didn't go well as well, that like that was 4 pregnancies that failed, that like the baby died, and it kind of sucks for Emma because she literally said like this was the last one, like she can't do it anymore. And I guess like it is sort of typical that she would die because, you know, like so many stories, and not just in, you know, A Song of Ice and Fire and everything like that, but like it's the whole thing of childbirth is like it's a risky thing, you know what I mean? Like you're talking about a story that takes place in a time where technologies for medicine and whatnot like aren't advanced, you know what I mean? So childbirth is like such a risk, you know what I mean, with little to no like medical technology that can help that along the way. And you know, it's typical that like the last one's like her body can't even take it anymore. So yeah. And Prince Viserys, who was injured by the throne, so he has a mark obviously on his back that it's basically a cut that's been made by the throne, and it refuses to heal, which is interesting. And then he gets cut again at the very end. And I wonder if it means something, like if it symbolizes something, or if it's a case of like the throne's been poisoned. You know what I mean? If it's a wound that refuses to heal, like what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like surely a simple cut would heal, you know? But I do like the new sort of look of the chair, by the way. Like it's a hell of a lot more menacing. I feel like the throne, like in Game of Thrones, is very, I don't know, like I guess just because we've seen it for so long, like it just looks standard. But like this one, I like the fact that it goes up the stairs and everything like that, because I remember like ages ago like looking at an image of what the throne would actually look like, and it's like brutally lethal, like the way that it looks, like swords that literally like come up, and it's huge, it's massive, it's a massive chair. So in a way that they've kind of done it for this to kind of show that that's the way that it kind of should be. They've just basically extended the sort of like the swords and laid them out over the steps. But I do like it like that. I just like the sort of like I guess the double entendre of the idea that like the Iron Throne is like the most dangerous like seat in Westeros and everything, and like that means like physically and like yeah, sort of like literally, but also it just means that like, you know, like everyone is vying for that seat, everyone is vying for the throne, you know. So symbolically it is it's the most dangerous as well. Yeah, so then, well, obviously Daemon Targaryen, commander of the City Watch, that was basically the place that was put to Daemon because Otto advised Viserys that if he was like to be anything else, that he would, like, for example, if he was the master of coin, he would just spend it willingly on random things that don't matter. You wouldn't be sensible with it at all. And so Viserys, obviously wanting his brother to be like to have a seat at the council, ended up getting the City Watch instead. And then we obviously see that like his violent tendencies firsthand when he goes out. I love the introduction of him and these like gold cloaks that he has. I love the introduction of that, and like he's just set out. He goes out, takes care of all these criminals. Like there was no way for us to know as the viewer, is like, were these people legitimately doing crimes? I mean, I assume so. I don't know. I know Damon does have this like sort of violent tendency about him, but I don't think he would have just went out and killed, like, you know, just randomers to make a point. I don't know, he might have done, but I think generally you know, and it does put the point out there. Like, I mean, the one thing they wanted to show was fear, so that it wouldn't happen further, right? And put it on public display so people know, like, don't fucking do this, or this is what happens to you. So it is a way of working around it. But of course, it's very heavy-handed, and that's the way that Damon is. He wields Dark Sister, so that Valyrian steel sword that was talked about when Damon gave Rhaenyra that Valyrian steel necklace. He actually wields Dark Sister, which is cool. And he rides the dragon Syraxes, is it? Or is it Caraxes? I think it's Syraxes, right? Which is fucking looks awesome, by the way. He's got this like elongated neck. I've noticed, like, he's very like serpentine, which is cool. I do like the idea that, like, you know, if we are going to get 10 dragons, that each of them like look significantly different from the other. You know, and Daemon's like, this has to be like a choice that was made purposefully. Like, the dragons that are with their dragon riders like sort of resemble them in some way. I do like that. So yeah, like Syraxes seems like a kind of like a more on that sort of evil scale. You know what I mean? Like, it seems to fit Damon's personality a hell of a lot. So yeah. And then we had obviously the tournament start. There was an interesting little thing with so I think his name is Ormond Baratheon, who comes up and, like, you know, does the whole ask favor and whatnot of Rhaenys, where we got the whole queen that never was, and she refers to him as cousin. So that's interesting. There's a sort of like a marriage somewhere that connects them, and he was the one, like, that Baratheon was the only one at the end which I saw that was not entirely on board with Rhaenyra getting, like, being given like that heir status. So yeah, I mean, I imagine that is because if it was given to Rhaenys, that would strengthen Ormond Baratheon's position. So that's probably the reason why. But it is interesting having the Baratheon there, the one that doesn't like the idea of Rhaenyra getting it. I mean, because obviously, like, looking back at, you know, big old Bobby B, Robert Baratheon, and his sort of dislike for the Targaryens, you know, it's just an interesting kind of crossover. I guess that would mean, really, like, he doesn't, you know, it's not entirely like the idea. I get it, because obviously Ormond Baratheon is related and quite likes Rhaenys, so yeah. Then we got introduced to Criston Cole, who turns out he is Dornish, interesting enough. He's the one that actually won the tournament, and I didn't truly catch, like, it seemed like people were sort of, they didn't understand, like, where he's from. Like, they'd never heard of House Cole, or at least Rhaenyra didn't. And it was said that apparently he's like some kind of, like, I don't know if it was like his father is steward to Dondarrion or something. Now, we know of a Dondarrion, Beric, in Game of Thrones. He's the one that's like kind of being brought back by the fire god and whatnot, and he's come back like loads of times, and like he just doesn't feel human anymore, and he's able to like sort of light swords on fire with his blood and stuff. Like, that's interesting. So Criston Cole, yeah. So I feel like he's going to have a bit of a part to play in this story then, seeming as he won the tournament and asked for Rhaenyra's favour. Obviously, like, having the joust and whatnot between them. Again, Daemon provoking Otto, by choosing a Hightower to fight, you know, as his joust partner. And, you know, Hightower gets the first strike in, and then Daemon comes back with a fucking bullshit maneuver that I can't believe you can just do whatever you want. I mean, what's the point having a joust then? It's like, you know what I mean? He puts the lance over the banister and just trips up the horse. Like, such bullshit, man. But as we learned, anything goes because, you know, someone won, and then, you know, another guy couldn't take it in humble defeat, so he just basically pulled a guy off his horse. He battered his face in, which was brutal, by the way. Jesus, yeah, really, really brutal. But I like that about this show. That's good. And yeah, Daemon, of course, after the whole thing of asking for like Lady Alicent's favour again, Hightower, every chance he gets. I feel like that's going to be an interesting sort of thing with like Hightower and Daemon. I don't know how much they're going to be interacting with each other now that Daemon has been sent away, though. So I don't know, but I mean, we can tell that Hightower, like Otto, he got in on the game. So we'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, so during the tournament, Emma is obviously giving birth. She's in labour, and we find out she's not going to make it, and that Viserys has to make a decision of basically, you know, saving one or just leaving it leaving it in the gods' hands. And but like either way, the way that the Maester put it was that, you know, Emma wasn't going to make it either way. Either the baby has to be cut out, or they're both definitely going to die. And so he makes the decision that, you know, that to save the baby, which was brutal, very, very brutal. I hate stuff like that. Ugh. Like, that was something similar that happened in Walking Dead, but yeah, those kind of scenes really really, really brutal. But I did like the way that it was like kind of shot with almost like, because it was a boy and whatnot, it was like, oh, this is going to be the new heir, and then cutting back to Daemon in the tournament, and it's like, you know, I just thought it really, really cool to flip back and forth between those two. And in the end, you know, it was all for naught, because Balon, the boy that, you know, that was named, ended up dying anyway. I thought it didn't sound right. Like the baby was almost like choking. It didn't sound right at all. So all of that was for naught. And, you know, I thought that at the funeral, I thought that it was really interesting for like the character of Daemon to actually be sad for his brother there. And there was nothing like it. Nothing was faked there. He was like, it was like he was genuinely sad for his brother. And yeah, so they have the funeral. Rhaenyra says Dracarys. First time we've heard that in a while. And yeah, that's the way they do their funerals. So yeah, I mean, immediately after that, they get into the talk about heirs and succession. Like, you know, I don't know exactly how long the time frame has been, but the way that it was shot felt like it was just like, it wasn't long at all. Like, it was like, I don't know if it was like immediately after the funeral or what, but, you know, Hightower basically brings up the whole thing of, well, we need to talk about, you know, who's your successor, and it needs to be in stone. You know, and they're all just bickering against each other. Corlys like brings up, well, let's just name him Daemon. You know what I mean? That's the one. And then it's like, well, hold on, like let's hold on a second here. And it's like it gets to the point where they're bringing up like, well, who else is there? There's nobody else. And then it gets brought up, well, the princess Rhaenyra. And then Lord Strong pipes up and says, a woman on the throne? There's never been a woman on the throne. So clearly he is part of that group that doesn't like the idea of a woman being on the throne. And then it all just descends into just absolute madness. And then it's like, right, well, if you don't think about, you know, if you're talking about a woman on the throne, Corlys pipes up again and he says, well, there's another, like his wife Rhaenys, you know, like that whole thing where, you know, they were they'd already had, like, she was already in line for the throne, like, alongside Viserys the first time round after Jaehaerys, you know, was clear, like, you know, acknowledging an heir. So, you know, for her to be in line as well is totally fair in that regard. And yeah, and then it sort of devolves into this whole thing, and Viserys, he just absolutely belts his voice towards the rest of his council, because it's like, dude, like, you've given us like no time. My wife and child have just died, and you're like, just like, it's almost like you're like a feast of crows come to pick the bones, you know what I mean? Like, immediately after, it's just like, it's so, I thought the performance was so great. You know, both that performance there and at the end when he was talking to Daemon, I thought it was absolutely spot on. So yeah, and then Hightower, like, after that whole thing, Otto sends his daughter to comfort Viserys. So immediately after all that talk about his succession and whatnot, and they don't know what to do, obviously Otto doesn't want Daemon getting it. So instead, he starts to play the game and starts to put this whole thing of like, all right, well, I'll send my daughter Alicent to comfort the king, and if that ends up being a thing, fucking hell, Jesus, yeah, we're in the Game of Thrones, all right. And then we get the whole thing where Daemon is at the pleasure house, and he puts out a toast to his nephew, toasting Balon heir for a day. God, I mean, choice of words. I mean, whether he said them with like the intention of keeping it like sort of under wraps and didn't think that, you know, people were listening in, you know, that like Hightower, like, it doesn't surprise me that like Hightower or like any of the council like have people like, you know, like, you know, I mean, you had like Varys and, you know, Littlefinger in Game of Thrones, who always had like their people like just listening in on things, you know, so it's not surprised that this council has it as well. But that basically is the crux that you know, Viserys brings in Daemon, talks about, like, you know, talks down to him and everything, like, you know, like, you will address me as like king and everything, like, your grace, and Jesus. And it's interesting there, like, you know, there was some interesting back and forth. Like, I did like the fact that Daemon threw his cards on the table, and you know, like, he was clearly upset the idea that what he said had upset Viserys. And I think that's what's like interesting about Daemon, is that while he's a dick, I think he truly cares for his brother, you know what I mean? He doesn't want to hurt him. I think he just wants to be apart, you know what I mean? Like, because clearly he feels aggrieved that he's never like beside him, you know, because that whole thing comes about, you know, why didn't you name me Hand? It's like, you know, why hold on, why should I? And it's like, I'm your brother, you know what I mean? Blood runs thick. And I feel like it's just that, like, Daemon just feels like that brother, it just feels like he's not close to Viserys at all. Like, he just keeps getting shooed away, kind of thing, you know. And I thought Daemon was probably telling the truth when he says that, like, you know what I mean, like all this council, they're all just using you for their own, like, you know, for their own advances, like, you know what I mean. I think he's right. Like, he's right in that regard. It's like no different to what the council was like in Game of Thrones, and Daemon sees through it. But like on the other hand, it's kind of like, I understand why Otto and, you know, and other and the like don't like the idea of Daemon having, you know, getting the crown, because the way that he is not really suitable for a king, you know what I mean? Like, he's going to cause chaos. So I don't know, man. It's an interesting dilemma between the two, and Viserys in the middle. It's like, what can he do? You know, that's the thing. It's like I said, that like I feel sorry for Viserys, because I'm like, from what I've seen of him, like, he just wants to do the right thing. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't come across as a bad guy in any way whatsoever. I just think he's a bit sort of complacent. You know what I mean? Like, he kind of just lets things drift by, and he doesn't really act on anything. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. So he sends Daemon away to the Vale, so to go back to his wife, which he clearly doesn't care for. But yeah, so he's been sent away. I think he took the woman as well, didn't he? I think he did. The woman that was with him, which is interesting. I mean, I don't know how his wife is going to feel about that. He's just going to bring like this woman with him, you know. And I don't even know when was the last time they even saw each other, you know. God knows, man. But yeah, I mean, Daemon calls Viserys weak. There's sort of a truth in that as well, I think. And then we get to the whole thing of Viserys, you know, meeting in front of Balerion's statue with Rhaenyra and talking about the dragons. I think it's interesting, like, his sort of take on it is that, like, he believes that that they never should have trifled with dragons at all. Like, he thinks that was what caused the doom of Valyria. That this is like power that should have never been trifled with, which is definitely interesting. I like his sort of take on it because I think I don't know, I'd be surprised if any other Targaryen feels the same about that. And yeah, he ends up naming Rhaenyra as the new heir, and he talks about Aegon as well. So the guy, Aegon the Conqueror, the guy that came across originally, the first Targaryen to come across, take over Westeros. And he talks about the coming winter. So the thing in Game of Thrones, this is the dream that Aegon talked about, that he foresaw the White Walkers and everything like that was to come, and that there needs to be a Targaryen on the throne for when this comes in order to save the world. So all of this prophecy and everything, and Azor Ahai and everything, is all from this. It's just really cool that he comes up, he talks about it, and that as soon as he mentions the coming winter, it transitions to a Stark. I just find it's a very Stark transition. Pun intended. I really like that, and that's a Rickon Stark as well. I best write that down because I'd imagine Starks will have some role to play in this. If not, well, I guess they don't, but I have it there anyway. And the last thing to talk about is Cat's Paw. I noticed that there when he was talking about it. That is the dagger that started the whole War of the fucking Five Kings and everything in Game of Thrones. That dagger, the one that Arya ends up with. That's fucking awesome, man. Love the callbacks, man. That's great. Love that. Really cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Rhaenyra is the new heir. Will she reach the throne? Well, that's to be seen, because it does have this sort of, the setup of the first episode has this whole thing of, well, we're going back to the Game of Thrones again. We're going to have people who have claims to the throne who are going to want to try and get in there. And then you've got, so you've got the ones who are like the true heirs, the ones that do have a claim. You've got Rhaenyra, you've got Rhaenys, you've got Daemon. And then, on the other hand, you've got the council who are, have their own agendas. Like Otto Hightower seems to want to, further his house and everything. And that's the thing, is like, the one thing that I don't know, I'm wondering if there's a three-way going on. Like, if you've got, Viserys and Rhaenyra on one side, you've got Daemon and whatnot on the other side, and then you've got, Lord Corlys and Princess Rhaenys on the other side with that Baratheon who clearly didn't like the idea of, giving up his vows to Rhaenyra. But that's the thing, is like, would they be on that side of going against that vow? Because breaking vows is not a good thing, and Baratheon did have to make that vow, even though it was not something he wanted to do. We did end up doing it in the end, so yeah, I don't know, we'll see. But it does have that feeling that it's going to kick off. So yeah, very cool. I did really enjoy that, and yeah, that means I'm excited for more. So yeah, that is all I've got. So thank you everyone for watching. If you do want to get access to episode 2 right now, you can do with the link down in the description below, so you don't have to wait a while for episode 2. There's also obviously a link to the full length, so if you want to watch my reaction in full to this episode and not just the cut 15-minute version or whatever it is, then that is down there for you as well. But that's all I've got. So thank you everyone for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.